Good Good morning. You all got really quiet. Good morning and welcome to First Parish Brewster. We are a Unitarian Universalist welcoming congregation of people of diverse philosophies and beliefs, people of various cultures and races, sexual orientations, gender identities, abilities, and socioeconomic backgrounds. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your path, may this be a place of rest and restoration on your journey. I'm Reverend Jessica Clay, happy to be welcoming you to the service this morning with our music director, Kaiza Fern, welcome, and our Lifespan Religious Education Director, Twinks Hastings, who's in the back with Eleanor. Not surprising. Our services are recorded and available on our YouTube channel midweek. Please, at this time, silence your cell phones. We ask that all wear their name tags or fill out the sticker name tags in an effort to be more welcoming. We also welcome the noises, movements, and mirth that little ones bring in our services. Our services are 60 to 75 minutes long. If you need to leave before then, you're welcome to use the doors at the rear of the sanctuary. Are there any first-time visitors who'd like to introduce themselves this morning?
We're Joanne and Charlie Freiling from Baton Rouge. Happy to be here. I can't believe how old your congregation is. 1700s, my gosh.
It is true. Do you go to? They all are laughing, thinking that they were all born in 1700. Do you go to the Baton Rouge Church? Okay, wonderful. I spent some time with Nathan last week at GA, and I know Chris because I went to Star King. So wonderful, wonderful. Well, welcome. Anyone else would like to introduce themselves? Okay, well, welcome visitors. We're so glad you are here. Welcome all on this morning, which we make sacred by our presence together, and a big welcome to people streaming. Let's give them a wave. We're so glad you're here. Next Saturday, you're invited to join us at the Winslow House lawn, which is across the street and around the corner, for a farewell barbecue for Eleanor and I. We'll be grilling veggie and meat hot dogs. You're invited to bring yourselves and a dish to share. What time is it at Twinks? 5? 5 to 7 next Saturday. Next Sunday will be my last service with you all, where we will bless each other and give thanks for the love that will always connect us. All are welcome at 10 a.m. Today, after the service, you're welcome to join us for coffee hour in the parish room right through this door. And for those of you who didn't know what you were getting into today, you can open your order of service if you haven't already. And what's inside? An index card. Why is that? Question box. So you can go ahead and write down your question or questions. I may not get to them all, but we will have, as you can see in your order of service, there are several points where I will answer questions, and there are several points where we will collect questions. So if you don't have a question at first, don't feel like you have to write one down. It may come to you as you hear me answer other people's. Our first collecting will happen when we sing the kids out. So if you already know of a question, that's when our first one will happen, and the ushers will walk around and collect those. And then we will do the others further on down the service. So welcome to our service today. It is so good to be together. Our call to worship this morning is from Reverend Gretchen Haley. Forged in the fire of our coming together. Let's take a breath together. What's going to happen? Will everything be okay? What can I do? In these days, we find ourselves too often stuck with these questions on repeat. What's going to happen? Will everything be okay? What can I do? We grasp at signs and markers, articles of news and analysis, Facebook memes, and forwarded emails, as if the new zodiac capable of forecasting all that life may yet bring our way, as if we could prepare, as if life had ever made any promises of making sense or turning out the way we'd thought. As if we are not actors, as if we are not also actors in this still unfolding story. For this hour we gather to surrender to the mystery, to release ourselves from the needing to know, the yearning to have it all already figured out, and also the burden of believing we either have all the control or none. Here in our song and our silence, our stories and our sharing, we make space for a new breath, a new healing, a new possibility to take root. That is courage, forged in the fire of our coming together and felt in the spirit that comes alive in this act of faith, that we believe still a new world is possible, that we are creating it already, here and now. Come, let us worship together.
I invite you to take your gray hymnal and turn to hymn 6. Please rise in body or spirit. Hymn 6, just as long as I have breath.
Please remain risen for our affirmation. Let's all do it together. Most of you know it. It's in your order of service for those who don't. We believe in love. Love is the doctrine of this church. We believe in truth, and the quest for truth is its sacrament. We believe in love. We believe in the sacredness of life to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Please be seated. Apparently, I don't have it memorized. I'd like to invite the young and young at heart, come on up for our time for all ages. You can come on up and sit right down here.
Hi.
Hi.
This sounds good. So I have some questions.
Well, wait.
Oh, I'm Twinks.
Thanks.
Who are you?
I'm Jessica. Just for the visitors, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Twinks. So I had some of our children send in some hard-hitting questions for you.
Oh, great, great.
The first one is, are ministers allowed to do things like get a tattoo and ride a motorcycle?
That's a hard question. What do you all think?
Yeah.
But have I ridden a motorcycle? What do you all think? No. It's so dangerous. But do I have a tattoo? A few. Yes, I do. See? You can see them. Yes, I even have a tattoo for my daughter Penelope on my arm. So, yes, we are allowed to get tattoos. And we are allowed to ride motorcycles if we want to, but with helmets.
For sure. Safety is no accident.
Yes.
The next one is, how old do you have to be a minister?
How old do you have to be? What do you all think?
20.
I heard 10. I heard 20. Lindsay? 5. Would you all ordain a 5-year-old? What do you think,
Maybe.
B? How old do you think you need to be a minister? What's your guess? 30? Okay, all right, that's a good guess. So you need certain degrees to be a minister. So you need a bachelor's, which is a 4-year degree, and then you need a master's of divinity. So oftentimes you don't get those until you're like somewhere in the realm of 23 to 25-ish if you're on the fast track. I would say that is the minimum age. And I do have friends who were ordained that young and who are fabulous ministers. So age is not an indicator of how good a minister is.
Amen to that. That's a great answer.
Thanks.
And then, this was a great one. Who's your boss?
Who's my boss? Can I have the members of the congregation rise? No, I'm serious. Okay, can you both stand up and look out? They're my boss. That's a lot of bosses, huh? Go ahead and be seated. Thank you.
So those were from the...
But I would say the most immediate is the board. But really, it's the members of the congregation.
Awesome. Those were the ones from our younger kids. And
Okay,
then
great.
the youth group got involved.
Okay.
And they want to know what the meaning of Chipotle is.
What the meaning of Chipotle is. There isn't even a Chipotle on the Cape, is there?
Oh, there is.
Oh, at the mall?
In the mall.
Oh, okay. The meaning of Chipotle is the magic that happens when rice and beans are mixed together. And that is a divine pairing with, if you choose, a tortilla or a bowl with lettuce. Both equally have inherent worth and dignity.
I think they were angling for you to take them to Chipotle before you left.
Oh, for me to take them to Chipotle. Okay, now I'm seeing it.
I forgot one from our one of our grade school kids. They wanted to know if Unitarian Universalism was its own religion.
Okay, what do you all think? I hear a no. Yes. How many no's? Raise your hands. How many yeses? Oh, if only we could get into discussing this, you know? Yes, it very much so is its own religion. We are not non-denominational. Please don't call us that. That doesn't mean that we are denominational. It means that we are Unitarian Universalists, and that is our faith. We are non-creedal, and we are held together by covenant, the promises that we make together about the world we want to create. But we are most definitely our own religion, formed out of Christianity, out of Judaism, which Christianity was formed out of, and that is our history.
I got really into UU history this last couple of years, so you can ask me some questions later.
Perfect.
Try and answer them.
Perfect.
Okay, and the last question, this was from the youth group again.
Yes.
What is the meaning of life, Jessica?
What is the meaning of life? Chipotle. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I would say your local restaurant that makes burritos. What is that? The corner store?
Corner store.
The corner store. What is the meaning of life? What'd you say? Oh, it's Jackson, right? Jackson said if we knew, we wouldn't be here. Or maybe we do know, and that's why we're here, to share it with each other. I would say the meaning of life is to make meaning out of everything that happens and just to be present to everything that happens in the best way we can, and to be gentle with ourselves and each other.
Another great answer.
And to go towards joy.
Always.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're good. Thank you.
All right, and we will sing the kiddos out, and if you have a question, feel free to hold your card up, and the ushers will come by and collect them. Are there any questions upstairs? We have one question upstairs if someone can go up and get it. Thank you. Eleanor has a question. I kind of feel like Mr. Rogers sitting here. At GA, I went to the Heinz Museum where they have the Mr. Rogers set. So I got to see his sweater, thank you, and his shoes, and his stole, because he was a Presbyterian minister, and his stole was beautiful that someone made that had Mr. Rogers' neighborhood on it. It was really lovely. So if you're in Pittsburgh, go to the Heinz Museum and you can see that stuff. But I feel like that. I'm not going to change my shoes and my robe in front of you, though. So let's take a moment and enter the spirit of meditation. I invite you to, if you have anything in your hands, to set it down, cast your eyes down or close them. If you feel like you are sitting with the question you didn't ask, or maybe you're sitting with feeling like you need to find the perfect question, go ahead and let that go. Our meditation this morning is from Linda M. Hansen. Much of our human struggle is with what we do not know or understand. It's often difficult not to want answers, or even more difficult not to think we have them already. May we experience what we do not know not as an individual failure, but as an invitation to community. May we seek not the true answers so much as the true questions, knowing that true questions make of our lives meaningful, even if sometimes restless journeys. May we be grateful for the restless voices in our communities. Let us take a few moments of silence to listen for the restless voices within ourselves. May we be good company to one another in our questions and our journey. Amen. Okay. Some common themes are emerging here. Let's see here. First question, have you changed your mind about the secret to happiness? Some of you may remember I preached a Secret to Happiness sermon before the pandemic. And I talked about this board game that I bought at an estate sale called The Secret to Happiness, that had you go through all of these different paths, that then you got happiness points. And I'm not quite sure what the point of that sermon was because it was a long time ago. I think, but I was sitting here during the meditation thinking about my answer to the what's the meaning of life question. I think the question of are you happy is a tough question because happiness is fleeting, much like all the other emotions are, right? Most people don't spend 100% or even 75% of their lives being like, I'm in a happy state. We fluctuate through all of the different states of emotions. I think that our goal is a life with ease, where we are happy more often than not. And some of us are able to have that, and some of us aren't. And we have to make peace with that and what that means. And I think for people with chronic illness, with mental illness, that being happy, which seems like such a kind of a pithy word, is often far off, a far off feeling. So I'm going to amend my what's the meaning of life to, I think the meaning of life is that we are all connected and we are all responsible for each other. And so part of that is that our liberation is bound up in each other. And that we are all called to work for that liberation for each other. And we are called to work to bring joy and kindness to each other. And those happy moments, those joy-filled moments are what help us when things get hard. But I think that, people have written all these books on it, like, oh, the secret to happiness is gratitude, if you're just grateful. Well, for some people, it's really hard to be grateful. For some people who live lives where they don't know where their next meal is coming from, or where they may be in an abusive relationship, or they may be getting bullied at school, that feeling of, oh, I just need to be grateful is patronizing at best. So I think that the secret to happiness is that there is no secret. But that if we get to feel it, we be grateful for that. And we celebrate those moments and recognize that they are fleeting, and then just be present to life because they may come again. And I was having dinner with a friend last night, and she said, a lot of people ask me, like, so what do you think of motherhood? And she said, so have you had moments where you were just like, I can't take this? And I said, well, I had one moment where I was really annoyed because she wouldn't go to sleep, and I just put her in the bassinet and I walked away. And but for the most part, in the middle of the night when she just won't go to sleep, she smiles at me. And then I'm like, even in the midst of feeling exhausted and tired and a little bit annoyed, there is still happiness possible in those moments, and I'm grateful for that and hope that those continue. Okay. Why is happiness so short? And then they wrote, meeting you was a happiness. It's very sweet. So much of, I think happiness is related to impermanence, the Buddhist concept of everything passes, like this too shall pass. And so I think that we all know that life is fragile and impermanent, and then we go to gratitude when we are lucky enough to be able to be with the people we love for long amounts of time, or when we are lucky enough to belong to a congregation such as this for a long amount of time and be rooted in it. I know I've talked to people who have said, yes, we're going to miss you, but we've seen many ministers come and go, and for them, this congregation is not about who's up here. It's about who's out there. And I think that is the thing to remain connected to. And I know that happiness will continue here because it was here before I came, and it will be here after I leave. Not without some sadness, but that I think you have a bright future ahead of you. Okay. What most attracted you to the church and community in which you are moving? And this also, in all caps, why Minnesota? So I did my internship in St. Paul, Minnesota, at a large church there, and have a lot of friends in Minnesota. And it is a large church where I am going with another minister on staff, and I've always felt called to large church ministry. They're very healthy, and I am able to buy a house in Minnesota for not a lot of money, for like what a condo goes for here. And it's also closer to my parents, so all of those reasons. I really did try to build community here during the 4 years I lived on the Cape, and then I served you from Boston for the last 2 years, but it was incredibly difficult, and the housing situation was very unstable. But me leaving is no reflection of my love for all of you that is still present. Okay. I think that we should maybe do a hymn. What do you think? Do we need a hymn? Okay. We're going to do a hymn, and then we're going to do the offering, and we'll do another collection of questions in the offering. So feel free, if you have something that's coming to mind, to write it down, and we'll collect those during the offering.
Yes, let's turn to 34 in the gray hymnal, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire. If you'd like, you could remain seated. Contemplative. No, you want them up. Yeah. Up. Up. If in body or spirit.
Each week, we have the practice of splitting our offertory plate, with half of what's collected going to the work of this congregation and half going to a worthy organization nominated by one of you. The organization that this morning's offering is going towards is the Emerald Hollow Therapeutic Riding Program. The Emerald Hollow Therapeutic Riding Program provides therapeutic riding and horse contact lessons for people with various disabilities, both physical and developmental. They provide healing programs for veterans as well. All horses in the program are rescues, giving their riders compassion and connections that heal both inside and out. And I was reading about the history of this organization last night, and they started with a partnership with Latham Centers, and then that developed into a partnership with Capabilities, and now they are serving people all over the Cape with this amazing program that's making a difference in many people's lives. Today we ask you to give as generously as you are able. You can text to give, the numbers in your order of service, or you can place cash or check in the offertory basket, and if you're watching online, you can donate on our website. However you choose to give, we give thanks for your generosity. The offering will now be gratefully collected, along with your questions. You can clap. Go for it. That was beautiful, David. Thank you. Okay. Let me just organize them for a second. Okay, there's several questions about this congregation, so I'll just sort of read through them and then try to answer them as a group. What was your initial perception of us as a congregation? How has it changed? What do you see as the strengths of this congregation? What could we do better? What is your biggest concern for this congregation as we journey forward after you leave? Several about what I've learned from leading you, what I'm going to miss. What is the biggest change you've seen in our church since the beginning of your ministry here? Okay. All right. So, my initial perception of you as a congregation was that there was a lot of opportunity here, and that there had been a bit of a tumultuous history. And so, so that is part of why I didn't put my name forth for this congregation in the first round of search, because I could see that there were going to be a lot of challenges. And a friend of mine pre-candidated during the first round and reached out to me when I didn't have a match in the first round and said, you know, I really think you should give Brewster a try. They've done a lot of work, and I think you should give them a try. So I put my name forth for the second round, and when I came out here, as I said a couple weeks ago, one of my internship supervisors said, all you have to do is think about, can you love them? And I came out, and that was so clear to me that just from spending the weekend with your search committee, that I could love you. And also how you were talked about by other ministers in the area, that they said, this is a very loving, vibrant congregation. And that was clear to me when I came for candidating week as well. And the energy that first morning of candidating week was a little overwhelming, but in all the good ways, because it was just so, people were so excited, which was a joy to be present to. And so I learned early on, like the first couple of weeks after I started, about misconduct from a staff member and misconduct from a minister that had happened recently. And I was a little surprised. And so the work became that much more. Because when people in power break trust in a congregation, the ripple effects of it are felt for years afterwards. And how it presents is a lot of mistrust in authority. And so you also have a history with Horatio Alger of breaking trust and causing harm. That was obviously a very, 150 years ago or something. But this speaks to, I had another question in here about, am I accountable to the Unitarian Universalist Association? Yes, I am, because I am in fellowship with the Unitarian Universalist Association. So if I caused harm here, it could be reported to the Ministerial Fellowship Committee, who are the ones who give me fellowship, which is like our accreditation. You ordained me, but they give fellowship and say, we think this person has ethics and integrity to lead a congregation. And then if harm happens, they are the ones who do the investigating to see if that harm did happen and could remove me from fellowship, and which would mean I wouldn't be recommended to future congregations, and would also mean some losing of like my retirement benefits, things like that. That is not to say that some congregations still hire ministers who aren't in fellowship. They do. It's not recommended, but they do. And I'm also a member of the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association, which has a code of conduct that I agree upon, that holds me to very high standards as well. And I recommend that any of your future ministers, be members of the UUMA and in fellowship. That's like a, that's like hiring someone without a background check, if they were. So, so there was a lot of work to be done, and I think Unitarian Universalism is anti-authoritarian as a faith. I think the United States is, especially like white middle-class United States, is anti-authoritarian as well. So you have those, and then you have our churches, where people come in and they say, this faith fits my theology. This fits what I'm looking for. And then as soon as we rub up against something of like, this doesn't fit, like, oh my gosh, she served communion. What was she thinking? Whereas other people were like, she served communion. That was so wonderful. That is where sort of the rub comes in. And so, speaking to these questions, let me go through them again. My initial perception was that there were a lot of opportunity, and that didn't change. It grew when I learned about your history, and it was a bit overwhelming. And also my own thoughts about what I could do as a minister. So at General Assembly last week, at the Service of the Living Tradition, which is the service where they acknowledge all the newly fellowshipped ministers, they acknowledge ministers in full fellowship, they acknowledge ministers who've died and who've retired, they acknowledge credentialed religious educators and credentialed music directors as well. So it's really a service about religious leadership. The minister who was giving the sermon, Chris Buse, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, from Tennessee, he said that he learned that the pace of church is at a turtle's pace, and that trying to herd turtles is kind of like trying to get people at church to do a thing. It's like herding turtles. And so at his church, they have a phrase, go turtles go. And I didn't know that. And so when I came, I thought, you know what? I said in my head, I'm gonna serve these people for at least 4 years, and we're gonna get a new kitchen, and we're going to work on the governance, we're gonna make everything clear, we're gonna move them towards health. And then I realized you can't herd turtles that fast. And I was in preliminary fellowship when I first came, and so you have to have a mentor in preliminary fellowship. So I had a minister who's been a minister for a long time, and I explained to her everything that was going on, and she said, the change you're talking about takes 10 to 12 years. I was like, excuse me, what? No, I'm gonna make it happen. So I had to scale back what I thought was possible, and I think, I remember I tried to find my candidating sermon from that last Sunday where you voted me in. I couldn't find a new computer. The old one got lost. But I remember saying something like, doing some metaphor about a ship, not surprisingly, and saying like, yes, you all are like part of this ship and you need a captain, and that's me. And when I came, I realized that you really, this congregation really likes a captain to lead worship, but really wants to do the rest of it themselves. Like, you want the captain to show up and be like, yes, do that thing, but not to lead it. And that was a hard reality for me when I had a lot of ideas that I wanted to bring, and that I was met with a lot of resistance around them, and so I had to modify. And so I'll give you a story example. We're going to go over on time. Is everyone okay with that? All right. So the church I came from split the plate every Sunday to a different organization. You had a practice of splitting your plate once a month. And so I went to social justice and I said, I think we should do a different organization every week. And they were like, great, that sounds great. And I said, okay, I'm going to take it to the board. And they said, great, do you want one of us to come? And I said, no, I'll just take it. So I took it to the board, and the board said, we want to hear from social justice. And I said, but they gave that, nope, we want to hear from them. So then the next month, someone from social justice came and said it, and now we have it in place. That was a little frustrating, not gonna lie. So things like that, and that's where that anti-authoritarianism can come out. So I think that this church has navigated many changes in ministry over the last 20 plus years since Jim Robinson left. And in part, how you've done that is because all of you pull together and make it happen no matter who the minister is, right? So this is your strength. And at times, you have to let the minister lead. And I think that's going to be your opportunity in the future. And you have to let your leadership lead, let your board lead. And, I think that when processes were put in place to evaluate things like the building for a capital campaign, that then, a year was spent looking at the buildings, looking at the whole process, and then we had the pandemic, and then we're trying to get it going again, and people said, I think we need to go back and do that again. And so I think that that's what I saw was leadership got really frustrated about that. And so I think that's a growing edge for you all. But I will say my initial perception that first Sunday when I was here of the high energy has stayed. Now, the second Sunday after we came back from the pandemic, it was a little low. But other than that, almost every Sunday there is an energy in the air that is palpable and a gift to be able to lead worship for. And I got some feedback, maybe like a month or two in, that people wanted more rituals, which was not a strength of mine at all. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And so we started doing rituals, and you all responded so well, and you did them, you jumped up to do them, and it was fabulous. And so I think that is a real gift to any minister who serves you, that agility in worship, that you will go with the flow and you will participate, and you are responsive, which is so nice, and not like every congregation. What is the biggest change you've seen in our church since the beginnings of your ministry here? I would say the biggest change is that you're moving towards health, and that was evident in a board meeting in fall where a congregant came and wanted to delay the board vote on my parental leave because there were complaints about me, and the board said, no, this is her legal right, like she gets parental leave. And whereas before it would have stopped the board and there would have been multiple meetings about it. That's not to say that people can't have complaints, but having a clear board that knows what the role is and knows what the law is really helpful. And I think your board is fantastic and has really worked to clarify their role. And with the dissolution of the council, that really helped as well. What am I grateful for from this ministry? I'm going to do this, and then we're going to do some more music, and then we'll do one last round of questions. I am grateful for so many things. First, I'm grateful for the staff. You have an amazing staff team. You really do. And that's not to say people who've left weren't amazing, but your staff team as it stands is fantastic. And I really want to especially name Celine, who is not seen on Sunday mornings. Who's worked tirelessly in the thrift store volunteers, I think that's who's clapping the loudest, who are also fantastic, and that there are staff who just aren't seen on Sundays, that they're fabulous as well. Ted has been here a long time as the bookkeeper. He's fantastic. And the newer staff that have come into these roles, and we're so lucky to have you. And so, yeah. And so I'm grateful to the staff for holding things down, for, Twinks had a medical emergency, I think, your first year, right? And so we all came together, and staff and congregants, and we're like, we're gonna cover this. And then when Penelope died, the staff came together and we're like, we've got this. Jessica doesn't need to be contacted, and let me have that space. So I'm grateful to, first and foremost, staff. And second, I'm grateful to you all because you came together. The two biggest points of this ministry have been the pandemic and Penelope dying. And so you came together in the pandemic and you showed up on Zoom, even though it's not everybody's preferred worship style, except for those who are on YouTube right now. Still, I was telling my friend last night, I was like, when people are like, let's have a Zoom meeting, I'm like, no thanks. I'm just over Zoom. But it filled a role, and part of that was you all showing up, you sending in your pictures, you sending in your videos. That was what I loved about the Zoom worship, was that we got to see more of you than we do on a regular Sunday. And a video of Bob Marcus making a sculpture. We got to see all these different things, people talking about what they were passionate about. You showed up in the parking lot for parking lot worships and for the water ceremony that we were filming. And we did this rock ceremony. I'm not quite sure what that was for, but it was torrentially raining, and people were showing up bringing their decorated rocks. Still can't remember what that was for, but it was cute. There were some really cute rocks with Pam, I think you made them with the little masks on them, right? Yes, so cute. So the ways that you came together around the pandemic held this congregation together, and I want to name the CYM committee for the ways that they helped the kids remain engaged during the pandemic, because they really did. And that's not the case at every congregation. So that is something to be proud of. And the ways that you came together when Penelope died and supported the staff, and then supported me when I came back to work last summer. Because there was definitely those first couple weeks when I was back, I was like, I can't do this. I can't. We're taught to preach from our scars, not our wounds. We're taught that don't make the congregation think they have to take care of you, but there's no way, when your child dies, there is no way that you all wouldn't feel like you had to take care of me, especially that first year. And so you did it with caring and love and boundaries, which I really appreciated. And a leader said to me when I said to her after that, I remember being in a meeting that first week and just being like, I don't know if I'm their minister anymore. I don't know if I can do this. And she said, you in the room is all we need. Just your presence. That's all we need from you right now. And that was the biggest gift, that you accepted me as I was and recognized that maybe for 3 months I needed to preach a sermon that was, I'm tired, are you tired? Because that's about what my sermons were last summer. And we moved through it together. And that was, and will remain like the greatest gift and blessing that you ever could have given me. So, and your shower for her is like one of my sweetest memories, that you gave me blessings for her, and the love that was present to welcome her into the world was such a joy. And I know that Eleanor feels that love as well, and will feel it when we leave. Okay, we're gonna do one more song. Kais has given me the eyes. One more song, and then we'll do our last round of questions. So if you have questions for the ushers during this last song, can you hold them up, and ushers, can you collect them during this? Please.
Everybody's wondering what and where they all come from. Everybody's worrying about what they're gonna do when the whole thing's done. Nobody knows for certain, it's all the same to me. And I think I'll let the mystery be. Some say once gone, you're gone forever. Some say you're coming back. Some say you rest in the arms of the holy if it's sinful ways you lack. Some say they're coming back in a garden full of sweet green peas. I choose to let the mystery be. Everybody's wondering what and where they all come from. Everybody's worried about where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. Nobody knows for certain, it's all the same to me. And I think I'll let the mystery be. Say they're going to a place called glory, maybe that's a fact. I've heard them on the road to purgatory, I don't like the sounds of that. Now, I believe in love, I live accordingly, and I choose to let the mystery be. Everybody's wondering what and where they all come from. Everybody's worried about where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. Nobody knows for certain, it's all the same to me. And I think I'll let the mystery be. I believe in love, I live accordingly, and I choose to let the mystery be.
Okay, are there any more questions? Okay. All right, we're going to go through these quickly. What was your most difficult decision and when did you make it? And then also, what action, program, or decision that you did are you happiest with or most proud of? The most difficult decision, I wouldn't say there was like one most difficult decision. I would say, you all know, the hardest times were around staff transitions and the confidentiality within them, within staffing, and that there wasn't a lot of trust when things went awry. And that was really difficult and painful. And that speaks to the question of what do you think is, are our things to work on. I really think that this congregation has come a long way, but I think that tolerating when there is dissent, tolerating when people are unhappy with certain decisions, and still moving forward together is an opportunity for you. And to recognize, we all know that everyone's not going to be happy, right? But if the people who are unhappy are the loudest voices in the room and take up a lot of leadership's time, that's exhausting. And so recognizing, like, how are the ways that you can feed health, and to recognize that for a congregation to move forward, people are going to be disappointed because it means change is happening. And so it doesn't mean that 75% of people are going to be disappointed, but that there will always be a small percentage. And how do you just tolerate that and know that that is not an indicator of your health? That is or maybe it is an indicator that a small percentage is disappointed, but you still choose to move forward anyways. And what's the action program or decision that you did are you happiest or most proud of? I'm most proud of the staff, how we came together during the pandemic. We just really kicked behind and took names, I'll say. Okay, one of the questions from online was, based on your years of experience with First Parish Brewster, what one important message or lesson will you carry with you as you lead a new flock? And someone else said, what have you learned from leading us? Someone told me on my internship that trust is not just given, it's earned. And it is a long process. And I knew that coming in, but I didn't have a bone-deep knowledge of it. And now I do. And part of how it's earned is from being up here and leading funerals for the people who are beloved to this congregation who've died, who I've sat with. Part of it is sitting through all of those meetings. Like, all of those little things that add up is what I will take with me. And what a privilege it is. And the people who I have gotten to sit by their deathbeds or gotten to visit with before they died will always stay with me. Your beloveds are my beloveds, and they will stay with me. And all of you who are still alive are also still my beloveds and will stay with me. And the hard part is that I won't be able to hear what happens in your stories, or I won't be able to hear when you die. And that is really going to be the heartbreaking thing, but it's, this is a ministry for someone else to pick up and to be your minister. And that's just one of the heartbreaking things, because I really love so many of you and wish we could stay in touch. But I'm committed to doing what is best for the health of this congregation, and that speaks to the question of, will you and Eleanor come back to the Cape so you can show Eleanor where you were ordained and also to visit us at First Parish Brewster? Eventually, yes. Immediately, no. And I'm having a conversation with Reverend Karin next week so that we can develop a covenant together, and then I will with your next settled minister, and then they will get to decide what that contact looks like. I want to do what's best for the health of this church. So if it's best for me to come back and preach in a few years, I would happily do that. If it's best for me to stay away to allow a little more space for you to develop that relationship with the new minister, I will do that as well. So it really just kind of depends on where things are at. And but know that I will be thinking about you and holding you all in my heart. And as I was driving to my friend's house last night, I was having lots of sadness and lots of nostalgia because, of course, the Cape is at its like peak beautiful right now. And I'm like, this place is so gorgeous. And I'm so grateful that you all gave me the chance to be your minister, that you trusted me with that, and that you allowed me to learn with you, and that you helped me grow into a better minister. When you gave me feedback, it helped me grow, and when you loved me, it helped me grow. So all of those things helped me so that I can go and love this other congregation and still love our faith and love the magic that happens when we come together. Okay, 2 more. What will I miss most about First Parish Brewster? Everyone rise. It's true. I'm going to miss all of you. That's what I'm going to miss most. I do love this sanctuary, though. I'm not going to lie. I mean, this is one gorgeous sanctuary, but really it's all of you that I'm really going to miss. And your dogs. It's true. It is true. Okay, last question. How can goodbyes be less painful? Right? I think that we try to center the love that we feel for each other. And we're planning the service for next Sunday and trying to have some joy in it so that it's not just Liz is giving me a face. So that it's not just, Cryfest 2023, but that we also recognize like how much joy we have for each other, because there is so much joy and love here, and that is why whoever comes to serve you will be lucky, because sure, you have stuff to work on, but there is joy and love and a willingness to show up here for each other, for the minister, for this faith, and that is a privilege to witness and to have been present to have been the captain of the ship for. Kaisa's giving me the face of no more questions. Go for it.
Now we will sing, Now Let Us Sing, which is from the Gray Hymnal 368. And the choir, please can rise in body or spirit. The choir is actually going to sing through this once with both the parts and then go right into repeating the first verse.
Can I do one more note?
Yeah.
Can we give a little round for the choir and all the members of the choir who aren't here? Because the choir too really embraced their growing edges in the pandemic of recording virtual choir videos, which none of you wanted to be a video star, but you did it. Listening to yourself singing, solo is like the hardest thing, and you did it. And then you came back and you sang in masks, and you did it, even though you hated that. And so I just want to give a shout out that you have a really amazing choir and music program. Yeah.
Okay, so now our pickup choir is going to go through once, and then you come on in, and we'll go through the 4 verses. Lift up your voice, be not afraid, sing to the power
Okay, so the last question I didn't answer, you're laughing, but I'm really going to speak to it. You can remain risen, it was something around like, what do we do in the face of the Supreme Court decisions, right? We sing to the power of the faith, hope, and love within. And turn and face each other. You are who are going to help each other move through this. You are the ones who are going to give each other that faith, hope, and love to move forward in the future when despair shows up, as it does so often. Turn and greet your neighbor, and please join us for coffee hour.